Hi, this is Stephanie Beck with SRB Solutions, best-selling author of Social Trigger Points, The Massage Therapist Guide to Marketing Online, Small Business Trendsetters, as well as Social Misalignments, The Chiropractor's Guide to Marketing Online. We're also founders of the social media laptop workshop. So if you've been at one of our workshops or you have the CAs or the doctors who brought in their laptops, and we've assisted in helping set up your Facebook or your Twitter account. I know you got this annual marketing calendar for free. So this tutorial is to help you best populate this, because I know that when some people look at this and they open it up, and here I have it shrunken down so that you can see it is a January through December annual marketing calendar, and there's a lot of blank spaces. I get that. So we're making this tutorial so that you make it a little bit easier for you, and know that not all spaces on here have to be populated, but what we're going to do is I'm going to give you some of the quick hints on how to make this edible and that you can get through this, because I know that that's a lot of content, and you're probably, like I said, thinking that, Stephanie, this is overwhelming. All these blank spaces freak me out. That's the way some people think. Myself, I just immediately might be a little bit OCD, but my immediate thing is to want to start populating all of them. So anyway, whether you want to tackle this month by month, or if you just want to take a day and complete it for the whole year, I know with our clients, they look forward to scheduling, and we start in September, and we start booking out times with our clients to go through these social solutions, SRB Solutions annual marketing calendar in September for the next year. Some people are a little more what I like call seat of the pants marketing or shotgun method, where they're kind of scattered and all over the place. They don't really know for sure what they're going to be doing, when they're going to be doing it. That to me is extremely stressful. I know that it works for a lot of people and they're very spontaneous, but I also know that sometimes those can be the most costly as far when it comes to your marketing. If you are a little more planned with your marketing and you can contract for, say, 3 to 6 months out, especially if you're looking for or working with magazines or newspapers or any type of media buys, you will get a better deal if you can commit to more than one at a time. So if you're going to be doing that, and if you're a manufacturer, I worked for 2 different manufacturing companies, and believe me, we were planning sometimes a year in advance, at a very minimum 6 months in advance of a new product launch when we were manufacturing items. Just from the marketing standpoint, that didn't include all the testing and the distribution and setting up the pre-buys and all of that. Now, for most health educators or healthcare practitioners, I realize you guys aren't manufacturers, so that doesn't necessarily apply to you. But when you do go to the trade shows and you are exposed to some really cool retail products and you decide you want to start carrying them in your practices, you do need to kind of be thinking about how am I going to best sell this? How am I going to best position this in our services, so then that we can maximize the sales, and I know it's not just about sales, but it's about providing products that the customers are going to appreciate, that they want to take home with them. So anyway, let's get started on this. What I like to do first is with, you can see here, we've got the months in line 2, in line 3, as I've highlighted here. I've added some examples for January, new year, there's new opportunities, new start, all the themes around new start, or Super Bowl. You can have multiple themes in the same year or in the same month. But like one idea would be like new year, new you. Okay, that may be your January theme. The reason why I like to go through here and just pick, I mean, February is kind of easy. We've got Valentine's Day, there's self-care, there's fighting winter blues, there's Valentine's, and you can have Valentine's in the beginning and then maybe self-care for mid-month theme change. That's fine, as it all works together. Maybe March is, like March Madness. If you're a practice that caters to athletes, I know March Madness is really big for all those basketball fans out there. There's also, you can do themes around luck, like labor under correct, because we all know luck actually stands for labor under correct knowledge, right? So maybe you have a St. Patrick's theme. Maybe there's getting into shape, because especially the people who live in the winter climates, it's been cold. They know spring's coming. There's several people who have spring break, March and April. So people are really concerned about, they start going to the gym in February and March, and maybe they're in need of some treatments by the end of March because they're sore and their muscles are achy from being, just maybe it's cabin fever is one of your fighting the blues, the winter blues, that type of thing. So just go through here, pick a theme. The reason why I like to have a theme for each month is that it kind of helps sets the tone for the rest of your marketing. So and I don't know about you, but sometimes it's very difficult if I don't have a theme picked for the month and I'm trying to come up with different topics for blogs. I find it much more difficult to pick my topics for the blogs when I don't have a set theme overall of what I'm trying to accomplish, or what the topic's going to be. It's so much easier because there's vast amounts of information that you can talk about, that you can share. I mean, even on social media, if you think about it, the articles and the blogs and if you're sharing other people's blogs and pulling articles from magazines, there are thousands of different types of information out there. But when you set, like, new year, new you, okay, now I have I've narrowed that scope. It's not going to take me as long to think about what kind of articles I'm going to need. It's not going to take me as long, and I can be focused when I get online. I know I'm going to need 5 articles for my social media, and so I'm going to go to the FCA, the ACA, the CCA. Maybe I'll go to the massage magazines. Maybe I'll go to DC Practice Insights. Maybe looking for content with a purpose. I'm looking for those things that are talking about giving them strategies for starting the new year. Or if it's Valentine's Day theme, then or self-care, I'm going to be looking for the latest information from our manufacturers and distributors that are talking about self-care. So do you see, hopefully you're understanding why it's important to have those topics. Then the next item here it says, start by listing all your major monthly campaigns and activities on this line. What I mean by that is, if you're going to have a product launch, maybe you always have customer appreciation month, or if you're a nonprofit organization and you're going to have a membership drive in March, and then you're going to repeat it again in September. So those are your major monthly campaigns or activities that you're going to do. I know that around the holidays, several of the practices will do certain things for food shelters and help raise money. They have coat drives for the winter time or sweater drives if you're in those cooler months. October typically, we all know, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so there are several spas and massage as well as chiropractors that work with everything's pink, and breast cancer awareness, and the drive is around that. I know that in May this last year is typically Posture Month, National Posture Month. So there was lots of information for chiropractors around that. So if there's a major campaign that you always, or that your practice participates in, or your independent practice wants to work with, then I would list it out there. And then next, start with the items that you know that you have on a regular basis. So for instance, maybe your events you haven't quite decided on yet, but monthly blogs. Okay, if you only blog once a month, then go ahead and decide what week of the month that you're going to put that blog out. Now, there are other people who blog like the second and fourth Tuesday of every month, or the first and third Wednesday of every month. There's always a blog coming out. I know that there are people out there, columnists, bloggers like myself, that will blog, 3 times a week. And that's okay, but I still, it does help when you have specific themes to now be putting into your content here. For me, it helps when I have a topic or when I have a set theme to be thinking about the type of content that I'm going to be creating that's going to support that same theme throughout that month. Hopefully that makes sense. Article writers, if you are columnist, myself, I've been a published columnist in a national publication since 2003, and I know that I have deadlines for my content has to be in typically 30 to 60 days prior to the publication. So for instance, for a March publication article, I would probably have to have that in February. All right, so even though my topic for March might be getting into shape, since my due date's in February, it may not match the topic for February, and that's okay. But just, these aren't set in stone, but it does help to when you're referencing the and going back through and looking at it, that you're, oh yes, that's right, I've got this article due, I know that it needs to be around getting into shape, so I'm going to be working on that. And so make sure that when you're entering your information here, that it's a March issue. And sometimes, like, the magazine will have, for instance, March may be, the topic may be continuing education, so CEs, and then your due date, due February 17th. Okay, so that's in here, that's on my calendar now that I know that I have an article due. So when I'm looking at this, in January, and when I'm looking at it at the beginning of February, I'm like, oh yes, that's right, I do have that article that, I need to have it ready to go by the 17th. The next item that you're probably going to have on a regular basis is your newsletters. Like I said, a lot of people will have a newsletter that coincides with the blog post either once a month. Sometimes it's the second and the third week of the month. Some people have a weekly newsletter. But when you have your dates here, and again, they don't have to be set in stone, but if you, for instance, if you're a manufacturer and you have contracted with bloggers outside your company that are going to supply product to you, if you're an organization that will be waiting on people to submit articles, well, then go ahead and put in here when the articles, when you need them by. So if you're going to say, for instance, you need your articles, if you're for your February issue, new article content due by January 16th for a February 1st delivery date. You can work with if you have an outside contractor who organizes those newsletters for you and publishes them, they always tell you when they need the information so that they can have it laid out, so that they can upload it. And now I know with a lot of the online programs, I mean, we do it ourselves. We can typically once you get the content to us at S, then we can turn around and typically have it ready for you to go within 24 to 48 hours, depending on the schedule. But when we have multiple newsletters already pre-planned and somebody comes to us at the last minute and says, oh, but I need this created and sent back to me within 24 hours, sometimes there are additional, just beware, there are additional rush charges that can be applied to that. And that's not just SRB, that's any marketing company, any print company, okay? So go ahead and fill in your newsletter. Now, same here with like media buys. If you've pre-contracted for say 6 of the 12 months, it's a monthly distribution magazine. So you're every other month, so you know that you've got, okay, February was a good month last year, so you might want to put on your marketing calendar that February issue and ad content due January 16th. All right, and then you can include, just like it says here, what is the purpose of the ad, what results do you want, who is your target audience, and how will you measure the success. A lot of times with your offline media buys, people are wondering, how am I going to know if I'm making money with this magazine article? How am I going to know if I'm making money with the newspaper? How do I know that those radio spots are creating more patients for us, more foot traffic? Well, make sure that you've set up your measurements in there, and in our social SMART goals video, you can, we've included some ideas in how to set those measurement goals for you. But just continue down through, just take it a month at a time. Now, for those of you who are not buying a booth, or maybe you've got a health fair that you always, the community health fair that you always take part in, and it's every June, or a street fair in August, or maybe there's Oktoberfest that you has a health fair, and so you want to participate in. Well, go ahead and list that out. You can come over, you can come over here to October and enter down into that month as to, or whatever day of the week it's on, and make sure that you list that out. Any special collateral material that's being printed, for instance, flyers, signs, handout, door hangers, any of those items, make sure that you include the due date to the graphic artist as well as to the printer if those are not combined. So you always have to be thinking in advance. Just because you want to print off a flyer, unless you're doing it yourself and taking it to a local print shop or printing them off in the office, you have a little more flexibility. But if you are having them done at some print company outside your office, most likely there is some what we call lead time. So unless you want to pay additional rush charges, then obviously, and I've had to do it myself last minute, it's just got to get done because we have the event. And I totally understand that too, but me personally, I have always found that seat of the pants marketing, that last minute, because it isn't planned, because it's not on the schedule, because it doesn't get done, or it is having to cost us more money because we weren't planning it properly. It also can be a big time waster because the time that it takes you to think about, to contemplate what you want to do. I have had, this is also a really good tool for, if you feel like you're doing lots of marketing, but this is like a reality check. If you're looking at your calendar and you don't have hardly anything filled in for your marketing, then chances are there's not going to be a whole lot happening in your practice. Maybe not. Maybe you have like one of the best referral programs out there, so you don't have to do a whole lot of marketing. If so, that's awesome. Congratulations. But for the most part, I find that people who have the busiest practices have set forth some really good marketing plans. So just take your time, and whether you do it 1 month at a time, 1 to 2 months out, or a whole year, go ahead and keep going through here, filling it out, completing it. And then, as always, if you do have any feedback for us, ways to make this calendar more useful for you, or that would help you with ideas, be sure to send us an email at srbsolutions.net, or send me a private message on Facebook at SRB Solutions, or give us a shout out on Twitter at SRB Solutions. So I look forward to connecting with you. Thanks again for your time, and I hope you have a great day. Remember to keep it organized and keep it social.